Right, hello, good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Stories with Sash podcast. You join me again, Sash, for another episode where we're going to be talking about motoring related topics. Today, you also join me with two, I'm not going to call them guests, they're basically part of the furniture now. It's Mike and Rob. Hello, chaps. How are we?
All good, thanks, Sash. You all good?
Thanks, Sash.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, look, like we say, Mike is only down the road from, well, I say down the road.
A very
west
large
way of
road
me.
called the M4.
Yeah, he's down the road in the Bristol area, and my mate Rob, he's over in the other side of the world in Abu Dhabi. So, like I say, thank you for both giving up your time to do this. So first and foremost, chaps, what's been going on? How's everyone's week been? Because it's only a week ago since we last spoke, really, and did a podcast. Go on, hit me. Anything at all? Anything motoring related or updates or anything? Go on, just tell me.
Stone cold silence.
Yeah, it's been a bad week for me, I won't lie. In terms of doing anything, I've done precisely bugger all. Annoying in a good way. It's not one of them weeks where you've been like, relaxing and lounging around. It's just been nothing of value has been added by this week.
Really? Wow, that sounds even in terms of
no, work's different. I mean, in my personal life.
Right, okay. That's fine. I just thought maybe you've gone through a little bit of a lull or something like that, and maybe we need to turn this podcast around and talk about counselling or something like that. But no, it seems that
just the only days that I've had off have been this weekend. I took a lovely trip in the Beamer down to Cornwall.
Well, you've been to Cornwall?
Got back today.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, that's something. You took the Beamer.
Yeah, but it wasn't. As we've discussed previously, it's not. That isn't what you'd call, taking out for a spin. Just M5,
no,
A30. True. There you go.
True. I'm with you. Actually, funny enough, I actually came back from my hometown today in the jet fighter.
It's not a jet fighter. God.
Oh, okay. Well, have you got anything interesting to say? Because I actually.
Is that what you asked? You just want us to? I might just eat up some time then on that basis.
I already told him that I had done nothing, so he still led with, "What have you been doing this week?"
Yeah,
no, brilliant.
I haven't been doing a great deal. I did manage to get the golf into a spin though, quite literally.
Right.
Yeah.
A spin, a full wheel.
Well, I went and
spin.
found a deserted roundabout, and to see how quickly I could go round the roundabout before things broke traction.
Sounds really safe. I like it.
But there was no one there. It's like a 3-lane. It's like you find that here. Like roads get built because there's this new best development ever. It's going to be the place to be, and they build all the roads. And then 10 years later, someone thinks about maybe putting up a fence to start building an apartment block. So there's like proper bits of town that are built with nothing out, just roads basically.
So the question I have is, what speed did you achieve before you broke traction?
Well, so I was doing 95 kilometers an hour around the roundabout, which is nearly 60 miles an hour, which I thought was impressive. The tires were squealing like little piggies, but then a local person came in their Nissan Patrol and dragged a load of sand across the roundabout, and then I ended up perpendicular to the roundabout, which was unfortunate because I was having a lot of fun.
So you were being basically a yobbo on the streets of Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Trying to drift your there's another word for it, little German hatchback roundabout. Okay, I mean,
I got quite a lot of tire smoke, which was good fun.
Yes. How are the conditions of your tire now?
They smell expensive when I use the vehicle. They smell like they're going to need to be retired fairly shortly. Which is
right. What are you running on? Goodyears?
Conti Sports.
Conti.
Very real tires.
Very exotic.
I might go for P0s next time because it's not quite getting the grip I need from the Contis, So the thing is, like soft compound tires here just don't make sense because the road's like 120 degrees in the summer.
I was going to say a soft compound tire would just melt at that point, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
like a liquid compound tire.
Well, that's why the Contis are kind of knackered now because it was kind of warm.
Well, I would also, maybe not this time, but in a separate episode, I'd actually like to talk about, it's going to sound really boring, but about tyres. Because I think a lot of people out there don't actually understand the importance and the relevance of tyres, and particularly in the application of F1 and stuff like that.
All three of our listeners have just tuned out when you said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do a podcast about tyres."
Sorry. Well, I'll turn it round because like I said, been driving the jet.
You shot down some MiGs over the North Atlantic.
I have. I've used my night panel.
Have you managed to perfect the carrier landing in your jet fighter?
I haven't.
Hang on, would a carrier landing
no.
be like that bit in the Italian Job where they kind of drive the minis into the back of the truck? Is that like the road equivalent? If you have a jet fighter for the road, as you keep insisting on calling it, if you manage to drive it into the back of a car transporter truck, is that equivalent to landing on an aircraft carrier if you're a jet fighter?
Just rear-ending a truck in your brand new Saab.
No, because you have to put the ramps down, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose yes, but I wouldn't really thought about it that way. I mean, when I was thinking like, jet fighter for the road, actually, what I actually discovered this weekend is I actually didn't sleep in it a full night, but I tried out what it'd be like as a bed in the back of it, and I got it like professionally cleaned on the outside and blah 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 blah, and it now looks very sparkly. But
your Tinder date ideas are getting even worse. Your Tinder date ideas. Oh, hello, darling. Would you like to go and sleep in the back of my jet fighter for the road? No.
You know what? I've actually had a lot of interest since I put on my bio that I own a jet fighter. You know how many matches I've got now?
Well, then immediately, as soon as you say, "Oh, actually, it's a Saab," it's a Saab 9.3 from the mid-noughties, immediately unmatched.
They don't look at Sash on Tinder and think that man is a fighter pilot.
But hang on, why not?
Do you look like Tom Cruise in Top Gun? Or Val Kilmer? No.
No. But I've got a fighter bomber jacket.
Right.
So basically, I'm Chuck Yeager, aren't I?
No, not at all. No.
Okay. Well, I mean, look. The point is, like,
at best, you're a Ryanair pilot, mate.
I mean, so
a jumbo jet for the
road. Thank you, chaps. As usual, you've been. Well, all I'm going to say is that once I actually show them the jet fighter, I've never had a date afterwards, so I don't really know why I'm going wrong, to be honest.
The easy jet fighter for the road. That is what's your Stelios, whatever his name is, that big fat Greek guy who owns EasyJet.
Oh yes, well he's been on the phone to me this week because he's been so impressed with my fleet, my jet fighter fleet.
You're gonna paint your car orange now.
Yeah, I think I will. I said, and I will sell like expensive, horrible sandwiches.
And when you pick up Tinder dates, you're going to charge them extra if they bring a handbag.
Yes, I will. Yeah. Well, because it's as Mike will agree with me, it's weight, and weight means more fuel, and more fuel means more cost.
I can't say in any way do I agree with you on this. Well, you're on your own here.
Mike, so when Nikki gets in the car, if she's brought a bag with her, she's like, you're looking at her like, you're going to pay for that extra fuel.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Fuel is money, Rob, and this is important. This is very important. But I feel we may have gone slightly off topic, but not that there was a particular topic. It was just how has everyone's week been. But going on to sort of the main meat of today's podcast, we've got a few topics that we'd like to talk about. But first and foremost, I want to kick things off about something that we just can't get away with not having, and that is car insurance, and more specifically, insurance fraud. Now, I don't know about you chaps in particular, but I've known a lot of people, and including myself, that have had or nearly become victim of a bit of insurance fraud. So let me just paint the picture for you. So this week, or last week, should I say, my brother has a Mark II VW Golf, right? And he had a little accident in which he ended up going into the back of this lady in an Audi A1, right? Now, paint this, a 1990s, Golf versus a brand new Audi A1. Which one do you think sort of came off worse?
I would say the new one.
I was going to say, because older cars are generally made of
have zero crumple zones.
Yeah, they're a little bit
made
kind
out
of harder
of
materials.
solid box section steel.
Yeah, but then also it's a German car, so if anyone was going to develop a crumple zone in the late 80s, it would have been the Germans.
Well, in fact, your theories in this particular case are wrong, because looking at both cars just from a visual perspective, not looking too integrally, my brother's Golf did come off a lot worse than her car, right? So visually speaking, her car literally only had a scratch on the bumper and on the lower bit, which they call a diffuser, which I absolutely hate because it's a fucking excuse my language, it's an A1, right? And why does it need a diffuser? But that's beside the point anyway.
Need to get that, you need to make sure that all your air is nice and slippery for you.
This is the thing.
I mean, I'm sure Rob can tell us loads about diffusers and why an A1 might.
Well, when you talk about aerodynamic drag, despite the fact that it's about a quarter of the surface area of the car is on the bottom of the car, more than half the aerodynamic drag comes from how the underside of the car interacts with the road.
In an Audi A1.
In any car.
Doing 20 miles an hour.
In any car. No, it's in any car because the underside is like a flat surface and it's moving over another flat surface. You cause so much turbulence and so much resistance in the air in that gap. That's where most of your drag comes from. So a properly designed floor to any car will cut down your fuel consumption, for example. So if you design a diffuser into it, it's not designed to give you downforce. It's designed to save you fuel and aerodynamic noise.
Well, Rob, you do realise we've lost our own listener.
We have now lost our own listener, yeah. But I just thought it's something interesting. Exactly. But this is something that Mike is now going to go out after this and be fabricating a floor for his BMW because it's going to save him 2 miles to the gallon.
Something just like that
would suit a diffuser, actually. I could see what. Anyway, but that's beside the point. So the point I was trying to get to was really the fact that my brother's front bumper was sort of crumpled. It needs a new bumper. The crash bar behind it, that was broken as well, and it had gone into the radiator. It didn't split the radiator, it wasn't leaking, but the radiator was pretty messed up, so it needs all these bits and pieces, right? So looking at the cars, blah blah, initially my brother was a young 21-year-old guy. They kind of come to a conclusion where it would basically make more sense, especially for him, but for both parties in terms of hassle, to not go through the insurance, right? And fair enough, blah blah. Those people do it every day. There's intricacies and legalities around that, blah, blah. But from this point of view, that seemed like the most sensible thing and the easiest thing to do, right? Anyway, she then went off to go get a quote for her bumper and her diffuser, which came to about 900 quid, right, to get it repainted. I'm not sure I don't think it needed an actual new bumper or diffuser, but it obviously needs to be sanded back, paint, professional, blah, blah, blah. Fair enough, yeah. Paintwork's expensive. We all know this. Anyway, then she starts apparently faffing around saying,
did she have whiplash?
Well, this is the thing. I was speaking to my brother about this. It's like, don't be surprised if she's trying to claim for whiplash. She's like, we were going like 15 miles an hour. It's like, technically speaking, you can get whiplash from anything above 6.25 miles an hour.
You can get whiplash from getting into bed too fast.
Well, this is the thing. But I mean, no, she's not claiming for any whiplash or anything of that nature. As things stand at the moment, I don't know how they progress. But basically, then she was saying, "Oh no, I want to go through the insurance and blah blah." Anyway, cut the long story short, they were like, "Well, basically, if you don't want to go through the insurance, we're happy to do that. But basically, it's going to be 900 quid for the paintwork on the bumper and the diffuser. But we've been told that we should change our rear seats of the car as well, which is an extra £200 per seat."
Sorry, hang on a minute. How bad is the damage?
It's a scratch.
She needs to change the rear seats. Is that because the passenger is sitting in the back shat himself?
Well, the thing is, though, even if he did, it had leather, so it's easily, wiped down.
I don't know, mate. If someone had shat themselves in the back of my car, I'd definitely be billing them for it.
I mean,
a whole new interior.
Absolutely, you'll never get the smell of that. It's like when a kid's sick in the car. That just smell always lingers.
Or actually, to be fair, Rob, you do need a new interior anyway because you spilt like air freshener juice all
That's
over
only
it the other week.
Problem
So,
yeah,
solved.
but
Just
yeah,
spill
okay,
air
yeah, but
everywhere.
that's not like there's air freshener smells nice, not in high concentrations, as I found out. But shit does not smell good in any concentration, as I'm sure everybody's aware.
You're right. Did anyone?
Anyone who's ever taken a poo knows that poo smells bad.
I mean, yes, you're right, Rob. If you take a poo, it doesn't smell nice. But going back actually to
Oh, we've lost him.
Oh, Sash.
It's all right, because I'm going to make my passengers wear nappies now.
We've already degraded toilet humor.
It's only taken 4 podcasts.
Yeah.
Oh, he's completely gone. Our host is gone.
Yeah.
This means, Mike, we have absolute free reign of the podcast. We can talk about whatever we want.
Should we just change his entire podcast?
We could just change his entire. Oh, he's back.
No,
our plan for world domination has been stifled.
No,
we weren't planning a hostile takeover.
No, So basically, sorry, before I got cut off, what I was saying was basically, I'm going to plug them here as well. The Car Throttle podcast told a story about somebody who basically left a bag of prawns in the back of their boot of their like BMW Z4, and they were clearing it out frantically, and they forgot this bag of prawns, and then went on holiday for about 3 weeks, right, in the middle of summer, right?
Yeah.
And his dad was looking after his car, and basically it was like, I don't know what it is, but something doesn't smell right in here. And he was like, nah, I think it's just your imagination. Basically, long story short, came back from holiday, found this moldy bag of prawns that I can't even begin to imagine what that even looked like. And basically never managed to get rid of the smell completely. Like, he tried everything, right?
So, I mean, talking of leaving things you don't want to leave in the car, like, I'm a responsible dog owner. So what I've done, you obviously pick up after your dog, right? And
right.
If there's no bin, just put it in the boot of the car, and you're going to go and then just put it in the bin when you get home. And like, I've gone out and walked the dog in the morning, and then got in the car late afternoon and gone, what the hell is that? Oh no, right, I need to take that out of the boot.
Oh,
That's
Rob.
grim.
But it's only for
That's
like a few hours, right? And obviously, like, you drive around with the windows down, smell goes, no problem, yeah.
And
then you just spill an air freshener everywhere to get rid of it. Obviously,
yeah, but this is the thing. I mean, we've gone wildly off topic again. Sorry, but basically, going back to this insurance thing, there was no funny smell in her car or anything. Nobody had pooed themselves or weed themselves or anything like that in her car, as far as I'm aware. But I think what infuriated me is just how people try to take advantage of these situations, because similar things happened to me in the past and blah, blah, blah. And I just want to know what your guys' thoughts on the whole scenario is, and just sort of this, insurance in general when it comes to sort of accidents and so on. And have you ever experienced any of this yourself, or yourselves, should I say?
I mean, I would take the approach that if you're going to have an accident, you might as well kill the other person on this basis, because then at least they can't claim for stuff that hasn't happened.
That's an interesting viewpoint.
Well, even if you only sort of bump them, just get out and just machete them, and then there's not going to be any of this problem, is it? You can pay to fix their car, and there's just, I'm obviously joking.
Yeah, I know. I mean, because, they're going to be beheaded. So, I mean, like, there's going to be a lot more. But
you won't have insurance fraud on your criminal record. Just aggravated manslaughter.
Yes.
Wow.
Although I think when they see you getting out of the car with the machete, they're going to think twice about insurance fraud.
Yes. This is true. So I'm guessing you've never been. Have you ever been a victim of insurance fraud, Rob?
I haven't, and touch wood, and very luckily for myself, I haven't actually had any kind of accident where I had to talk to the insurance. The most I had as an accident was somebody sort of drove into me as I kind of came out of a junction, and we kind of pulled over and was like, there was a bit of paint exchange, and she was kind of very worried that I was going to fly off the handle. And I was like, well, it's just a bit of paint. The body panel isn't even damaged. I was like, not really that worried. Didn't even exchange numbers. So if she had later on decided she wanted to rinse my insurance, she couldn't have even bothered anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What about you, Mike?
No, I have never had an accident in any way, shape, or form. believe it or not involving another car, and not in a serious enough way that insurance would have to be involved.
You guys are good. You guys
bumped my Vectra on that a few times, and bumped most of the cars I've owned. But
as a young driver, you drive into bins. You drive into bins quite a lot.
Yeah.
I
mean, stuff like that, but nothing that I would be bringing up my insurance company and saying, "Oh, I need to claim on this."
Yeah,
no, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I have had one little accident in the past where basically it definitely wasn't my fault, but it ended up being a 50-50 split of ownership of the accident. So, but this guy...
So it was 50% your fault?
Well, yeah, but, in my mind, it wasn't my fault. And it definitely wasn't. I won't explain the whole story of what exactly happened, but essentially, he tried to claim, it was him and his wife, tried to claim for a baby that didn't even exist, right? They didn't even, as far as I was aware, they didn't even have a kid, but there certainly wasn't a kid in the car. And I spoke to the insurance man who came to look at my car, and I was like, look, and as well as this, he was driving a Citroen C4, right? And basically, the front left of my car touched the rear right of his car. And essentially, I had like a tiny scratch on my bumper, right? And he was claiming that his parking sensors had stopped working, his front seat had collapsed, his baby that didn't exist, I don't know, nearly died or something like that, had whiplash. Him and his wife had whiplash, right? And I was like, right. I said to the guy, I was like, look, let's look at these things in perspective. This is a 20-year-old Fiat Cinquecento, right? And all that happened to it was a tiny scratch on the bumper, right? This guy is trying to claim that he needs a new front seat and his parking sensors don't work. That's not as a result of the accident. That's the result of the car being French, right? that is because he bought a Citroen, So that's not my problem. That's a him problem. And
how hard did you hit his car?
I don't know, like
how much damage was that? How much damage was there to the car you were in?
Like I said, Rob, it's just a scratch on the front bumper. Some paint came off. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. And I tried to explain this to the insurance people, but they weren't really understanding. And I was like, well, sod you then. And essentially, I suppose the point I was trying to make here is that I think this can be all too common. And I suppose lessons for drivers out there, regardless of whether you've had an accident or not before, make sure you get all details and evidence and ring. I think we've lost Mike, but that's okay.
He's lost interest.
He has lost interest. He's switched off, but that's fine.
We need an insurance. We need an insurance host for when it's going to be my turn to drop out for a few minutes shortly because you guys have taken little comfort breaks.
Well, you're the insurance correspondent, aren't you?
Am I the insurance correspondent? Why?
I don't know.
What qualifies me to be the insurance correspondent?
I don't know, mate. Well, the thing is, right? Maybe we should take different roles in the... Anyway, beside the point. So
I should be the consumer advice host because of my air freshener and. But I mean, all insurance is just fraud, though, isn't it?
It is. Well, is it?
Well, okay, not all insurance is fraud, but you.
What about health insurance?
Okay. I don't know. My point is, you pay someone to basically try to mitigate against something that might never happen.
Yes.
And it's all this risk calculation and all this kind of stuff. It's just like a way of, especially in the UK, it's even worse than it is anywhere else I know about. Because they try to argue that, oh, well, you're a young driver, therefore you're going to be having an accident here. Like, all you really need to insure against is the cost of what it costs to repair the car, and then some contingency to repair the other car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. You're right. I mean, what annoys me in the UK in particular, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, is the fact that when you insure a car, and I mean, I suppose now it's not so much of a problem now that I've turned 25, but when you insure a car, right, if you insure a car in the rest of Europe, right, you can drive anyone's car with their permission, right? But
yeah, I think it's
in the UK, that you can only drive your car.
So yeah, the car insurance is done differently in the UK to other places I know about. Again, so Europe, for example, you insure the car and you insure I think, I don't know if it's still the case, but at one time, I think in certain places it was that you insured the most valuable car that you own, and then all of the cars that you own all have the same number plate, because that is your number plate for your most expensive insurance policy. So if you say, for example, you owned a Citroen Saxo, like an ancient Citroen Saxo, and a Range Rover, then the Saxo would be insured up to the value of the Range Rover.
Right.
Obviously, you'd pay for insurance for the Range Rover, so obviously that's going to be quite expensive. It's an expensive car, blah blah blah. And yeah, so then and because it's the vehicle that's insured, so long as the person driving it has obviously the right license and has your permission, then yeah, it's insured and there's no issues. But I have a feeling that that's been tightened up a little bit on now.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, like, yeah, I totally get that, like that, you know. But I just think in the UK, I think insurance is just really, really difficult, you know, to, you know, if you want to drive, because the chances are, right, there's going to be, and there's been plenty of times where you think, God, yeah, I'd really like to be able to drive like somebody else's car because my car is not here for X, Y, and Z, and blah blah blah. I mean, maybe it's more of a problem for me because I own a fleet of vehicles, and you know, I have to, you know,
get fleet insurance.
Well, you can. I was thinking about getting traders insurance, but it was quite expensive last time I looked. It might be a bit cheaper now.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna have a look into that. But
mate, if you've got an airline to run, you definitely need to get all of your planes insured.
Well, exactly. I mean, I own several jet fighters. I mean, I own one. So, do you know what? You're provoking me even saying it. You know, you say I always bang on about it. You want me to say my car is a jet fighter?
Easy Sash Airlines.
Easy Sash Airline. Easy Sash Finance. Where all the best financial decisions come from.
Easy Adib Yagmai.
Yeah. Now wrapped up our insurance topic, and what I want to go on to next with you guys is the next part of our agenda, which I should have written down in front of me, is I want to talk about, well, this can lead us quite nicely to the next one afterwards, but the most average car or cars in history. Now, actually, this was one of your ideas, Mike.
It was, yes.
Thinking about this long and hard, but I don't know.
You've been doing your research.
Well, not so much research. I've been trying to like rack my brain as to cars that are so forgettable, because I think that's, in my opinion, and you know, you guys might disagree, but it's got to be something that is so like average, boring, and mundane that you completely forgot that it even existed in the first place.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I was going for. And it also has to be a car, because like the first thing that came into my head was like, you know, a 1.9 diesel Bora, for example.
Yeah, very funny.
Something like that, at least, anyway. But you know, they do.
Like a Vauxhall Vectra, although we only remembered it because
this is exactly the thing.
Bad it actually was.
So there was the Bora, and then the Vectra came into my head, and I was like, Sash is going to be looking for this as a boring vehicle. But then you have to remember that like Vauxhall have their VXR division, and there's a Vectra VXR. And would you say that's a boring car?
Yes.
It's not the best car, but it's definitely not an average car.
It's terrible.
It's not even remotely fun.
But it's not an average car, though, is it?
The thing is, on the subject of the Vauxhall Vectra VXR, I have to give that car actually some kudos, because even though it is a Vectra, which is terrible, the VXR, right, when that came out, could do over 160 miles an hour, which at the time when it was for sale was faster than a BMW M5.
Exactly.
Because BMW Limited. So I wouldn't say it's a great car, but it's, I think, somehow interesting in some respects. But it can't. That doesn't make it average. That doesn't make.
That's
it
what
boring.
I mean. So you have to sort of cut out all Vauxhall Vectras, because the Vectra as a car has a good version of it. So this then leads down to, you can only really pick cars, because even on the other end of the scale, there's no point saying something like, I don't know, like a Nissan Micra, because yeah, they don't have a sporty version, but the whole purpose of the car is that it's cheap and affordable and reliable. And if it ticks all those boxes, then it's not really a bland average car because it's done exactly what it's set out to do.
What was that Mazda that your mum had, Sash?
It was a Mazda 323F, which
sounds like a fax machine.
I mean, I have to say one thing. Actually, that was a pretty average, dull car. But
didn't they do a 323 turbo that was actually all right, or a 323 MPS or something?
They no. So the MPS came later in the Mazda 3s, but the 323 they actually did. My mum didn't have this one, so they did 3 engines. They did 1.5, 1.8, and they did a 2-litre with a V6 in it.
Oh yeah, that's right? Not a boring average car then.
No, that was actually quite fast as well. So I have to say, I wouldn't actually.
And 4-wheel drive as well. Crikey.
Yes, they were. Yeah. So that was interesting, but I have to say one thing. Going back to your Nissan Micra point as well, I also think, because Nissan Micra is sold in such vast numbers, everyone knows what a Nissan Micra is. So it's not a very forgettable car. Right?
Yeah, okay.
Like a Nissan Micra. So,
well, hang on. Average cars then must be like really well produced. Everyone buys one when they just think of, I need 4 wheels and transport, as opposed to. So what are we thinking about? Are we thinking about really average cars, or are we thinking about really boring cars?
Not boring, because if you get the most boring car, it sort of becomes interesting by being that boring. You know what I mean?
So it has to be suitably interesting enough to be forgettably boring.
Yeah, that's why. It's just like really so run-of-the-mill average. Just like it is a car. It has 4 wheels and does well. You can't define this. Like it's just
a Nissan Sunny.
Oh, good choice there.
Have you ever seen a Mitsubishi Attrage?
No.
It's not something that's sold in the UK, I don't think.
Well, that's probably
the Nissan Sunny here is obviously sold in vast numbers, along with another thing called the Mitsubishi Attrage. And my colleague had one. Hyundai Accent was the other thing I was thinking of that was just appalling. I'm just Googling now, really appalling vehicles. But so for a while there was some of these Mitsubishi Attrages on hire for the company for us to use as additional pool cars because we were quite busy. And it was so bad that he nicknamed it the Outrage. Because it had a 1.2-litre engine with a 4-speed automatic.
Ooh, that is an interesting combination.
It's not interesting.
It's
downright dangerous in this part of the world.
Well, it sounds terrible. I mean, the thing is, going back to your point on this, I suppose it's average is maybe one word, but I suppose maybe a better word is just forgettable. You know, a forgettable car, right? Something that you can't remember that existed. And I actually think you kind of nicked my fame on this one actually, Rob, but fair play. I actually think Japanese and Korean cars in general, there are quite a few that I thought of, right? So again, it's a Nissan, right? Who remembers the Nissan Almera / the Nissan Primera? Right?
Yes, I vaguely remember.
A neighbour of mine had one. I only remember it because it was orange, and I was a kid.
Right,
and that was an exciting colour for a car.
Yes, it is. I mean, the fact that you guys remember it is not maybe the best. Well, I mean, it's good because your car, you know, but they are so dull and so forgettable that I don't even know. Like when one drives past me, I don't even recognise that it is what it is. If that makes sense. I don't think that's a Nissan Almera. I go,
what is that?
Just what is that? That is some car. Like, it may as well like a block of cheese go past. I don't know.
I feel like that about things like Lexuses, because
the Lexi. That's a good one. No, see, I quite like Lexus.
I have no idea what a Lexus, because Lexus for so many years were just, it's a Lexus. And it's like,
to be fair, it's the newer, I say newer, you're looking at the last 10, 15 years. I think they're all right.
All Lexuses always looked the same, and you could never tell any different. You could never tell them apart. Except there was a Lexus, they decided they was going to make it look, they made it look like a Mercedes, and you looked at it from a while, and you're like, is that a Mercedes? And you got closer, and you go, is that a Hyundai? No, it's a Lexus.
That's sort of the purpose.
And then you went back to your day.
Yeah.
And then went back to your no, it's a Lexus. And then you just went back to what you were doing.
I quite like them though. I quite like them, and the thing is, they've got some interesting engines in them. because they're Toyota underneath. So they do have, especially on the newer Lexus, sorry, not the newer ones, the slightly older ones. You can get like I think you might even be able to get a turbocharged. You can definitely get a 3-liter inline-6, which is.
I'm going to make a controversial comment about
rear-wheel drive.
Oh,
specifically about the people who own Lexuses.
Yeah.
In my mind, you know how people who drive Jags have a certain. People are like, oh, well, they've always got their wallet in their other trousers. They're that kind of person. I think that is like those same kind of people drive Lexuses, but they haven't even shelled out to buy a Jag. I think of Lexus as a poor man's Jag.
Really?
But they're still the same kind of person who, when it's their time to buy a round at the pub, would actually be in the toilet.
See, I'm surprised by that. I actually quite like Lexuses, Lexi.
I think you just proved my point really well there, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose I'm really not doing the whole doesn't reach for his wallet kind of thing. Yeah, I'll give you that one.
I don't know how you managed to get this reputation. I think it's just funny to poke fun at you.
I mean, the thing is, Rob, I actually have to say, I actually, not for the first, and certainly won't be the last time, disagree with you.
Okay.
Because I don't know how you've come to that conclusion with Lexi drivers, because I don't know, because I think the Lexus or Lexi, whatever you want to call them, I think they are a little bit dull in my opinion from the outside. Visually, I don't think they're much to look at, right? But I think if you're clever about your Lexi, it's actually kind of like the slightly better value, almost certainly more reliable alternative to like a Mercedes.
I would say the same thing, but slightly more BMW, because of the is it the IS 300 sort of, or at least the IS range? They're rear wheel drive, and they've got the 6-cylinder inline up front. That's basically the makings of a BMW right there.
Where my logic comes from with this is that if you buy a Toyota, it's because you possibly don't have the money to spend, or you don't have the interest to spend money on a it's just some transport, right? More or less. I mean, there's some different examples of Toyotas that don't necessarily obey that rule, but things like the Corolla, the Camry, all those kind of things are just some transport, right? If you have the money to buy a Lexus, you have the money to buy a proper car. So why wouldn't you do that?
Because they're all right cars. So people like them.
Why would you want to buy something that's just all right?
What I will say in defense of Rob here, though, Sash, is Alan Partridge drives a Lexus.
Well, that's cool, right?
I mean, in what world is Alan Partridge cool?
Who doesn't like Alan Partridge?
Yeah, as a TV program. But of all the things people described him in as a character, cool is probably not up there.
Okay, maybe.
I mean, Steve Coogan is very funny, but he's definitely well known as a man who really likes his cars, and he's picked Alan Partridge to have a Lexus because he knows the reputation of men who drive Lexuses.
Yeah,
they are that kind of man.
Yeah,
you have to give it to Lexus though, because I've never heard anyone ever say my Lexus is broken.
It's a Toyota,
right? No, but that's true. Because they are very well engineered, right, and blah blah blah, and as well as this, and this is a hand on heart, a true story, right? So my brother works for a little company part time, and they do something to do with like pipe work and engineering and stuff like that. Nothing particularly exciting, but the owner of that business, right? Let me tell you, the cars that he has owned, right? So very well off man. He owned a BMW. No, sorry. He owned an Audi RS6 Avant, right?
Positive choice.
He then swapped that in and got Mercedes E63 AMG.
Okay, interesting.
Right. So this guy is, he knows his stuff. He knows his cars.
He knows how to buy finance.
He's doing really well. But he's a very nice guy. But he's quite wealthy as well. Blah blah. Literally, right. My dad knows him quite well as well. He popped in the other day and he was like, where's the Mercedes? And he was like, oh no, I got rid of that. I was like, what have you got now? He's like, well, this round the corner. And guess what it was?
Is it going to be a Lexus?
A Lexus IS 300.
Yeah, they're good cars. I like them.
No. But the thing is, though, my dad was like, "Oh, that's an interesting choice." He was like, "Honestly, Ramis, this is my dad's name." He was like, "These are so nice to drive and so comfortable, but people don't know about it because people just think, oh, it's a Lexus, right? And they just sort of brush past it. You know, it's just some car to a lot of people." He's like, honestly, so much so that he's bought his wife one as well, and he's bought another one just because it was just a really low mileage one.
Has he had?
I was going to say, I'm guessing these are new.
No. These aren't new.
This is what I was going to say. The second-hand ones, because people just sort of don't give them really too much thought, they're super cheap. You can pick them up for like, you know, a decent-ish, okay, I'd take the word decent back, an all right running car for like, you know, 1,500 quid. That's not high mileage, not like dodgy inside or anything. And for that, you know, you get yourself a 3-litre inline six, rear-wheel drive, fairly well built, in fact, very well built, kind of sporty car.
I don't know. You'll never convince me otherwise that Lexuses are appalling, but that's just my opinion. Obviously,
but it's just interesting because these ISs they aren't new, the ones that he's got. But honestly, he swears by them. He said obviously they're a little bit thirsty, they're a little bit juicy to run, but he's like they're so nice to drive. And actually, to be fair, Mike, I have to say, quite a good analogy to maybe a Japanese BMW of sorts. You know, so, but the thing is, though, I have to say, if there's any car brands that I know the least about the range, right, and I like to think I'm pretty well versed in a lot of car brands, it's probably Lexus. I have no idea what they're making at the moment, right? I know the IS is maybe still a thing. But I have no idea what they make. Somebody said to me, "Can you tell me?" They point out a brand new Lexus to me and go, "Can you tell me what Lexus that is?" I wouldn't have a clue.
Okay.
Right.
So Sash disagrees with you, Rob. Lexus is not a boring car.
No, I just think I don't know. But the thing is, I probably wouldn't go out and buy a Lexus myself.
For 1,500 quid, I was genuinely looking at them on Auto Trader about 2 weeks ago. And
Chaps, we've kind of gone off topic about boring cars. We started talking about Lexuses.
We have, yeah.
Well,
so we get back on topic, Sash. What's your car that you're going for here? Because we've had, what was it, a Nissan? And
I said Nissan Almera and Primera, but I also had a couple, and Rob sort of alluded to one of them already, which was Toyota Auris.
But again, the whole purpose of the car is that it's cheap and reliable and usable, and also, like you said, they're everywhere. Same as the Nissan Micra, they're everywhere.
I know.
I've got one out in front of my driveway right now.
Yeah, but you just happen to live next to somebody who's got one. It's like saying if a Rolls-Royce Phantom was next to, you know, well, actually probably not in Stevenage, but you know, if there was a.
Well, Nikki's sister owns two.
What, Phantoms?
Yeah.
I was going to say, you need to tell us something. Or Arises.
Actually, tell a lie. It's a Yaris. They own two Yaris. Yaris.
Yaris are everywhere. They're like cockroaches.
Exactly. Yeah, the Yaris is just a Yaris, but different.
Yeah, I mean, my mum owns a Yaris, for crying out loud. But anyway, but and then my final one that I had, because I didn't Google any of this, I was just trying to think off the top of my head about cars that I just would forget about. The Chevy Aveo.
I don't even know what that is.
I'm going to Google that now. Yeah. Chevrolet. I don't even know how to spell Chevrolet.
Chevrolet Aveo.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's basically. Yeah,
that is indeed a car.
That is just some car. Yeah. So
we're light and optional extra on that.
Would you like an optional?
Now that you mentioned it, those are actually really popular here. I just sort of passed them by as if.
Yeah, I was literally going to say you can't really pick an American car, but now you've said it, I've seen these kicking around, but they're just really forgettable.
Yeah, they are.
There's actually someone around the corner from my parents' house with one.
You know what these
are? I've seen
it
it this weekend.
You know what these are? This is because didn't Chevrolet buy that failing Korean brand? Daewoo?
Daewoo, yeah, because the only reason why I remember this is because you know the old Top Gear reasonably priced car, the Chevrolet Lacetti, which I think is also kind of forgettable because you never see them on the road. Yeah. It used to be a Daewoo Lacetti, and Chevrolet bought Daewoo because you used to have the Chevy Matiz. Well, no, you had the Daewoo Matiz, and then you had the Chevy Matiz, like a blended one.
Awful.
Yeah, everyone remembers the Matiz,
Yeah.
right? For I don't know what reason, but they're
not even that common, but everyone knows of them.
Everyone,
exactly.
At some point, you were at school with somebody who got their first car, and it was a Matiz.
I think that's what it is. That's where I remember it from.
Yeah.
You could get them with a 0.8 litre engine.
What about
pure power?
What about a Daihatsu Siron?
See, Daihatsu is a very good shout.
That is a good shout.
I think it comes back to it's fulfilling a purpose.
Yeah, but could if I put some pictures of cars in front of you, would you be able to pick out a Daihatsu Siron?
No, absolutely not. In no way would I be able to do that.
So we need to chalk that up onto the wall of forgetting useless cars.
That's true. I've got one sort of point from me. Again, it's Japanese this time. I don't want to stereotype all of them, but Mitsubishis.
Yeah.
Right. Does everyone remember the Mitsubishi? What was it called? The Mitsubishi Galant.
I do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty forgettable car in my opinion.
I don't know though.
We have two of them as drivers' cars at work, so I won't forget them for that reason. But it is an appalling-looking vehicle.
And there's other Mitsubishi as well. Like, okay, I'm not going to say the Mitsubishi Colt because that's quite small, and blah blah blah. But honestly, if somebody said to me today, "What is Mitsubishi's range?" and I actually think I heard or was reading in the newspaper the other day that Mitsubishi are actually thinking of pulling out of the UK market because nobody buys their cars.
Well, you've got. Hang on, what have you got? You've got the Lancer.
You've only got that pickup they do.
The what? Mitsubishi. So the thing that was
What do you mean,
Lancer was like
the Lancer. Yeah,
the Lancer,
come on.
like the base model of the thing that is like the Evo. Yeah, the Evo. It's a Mitsubishi Evo.
Yeah, because it was the Lancer Evo. It's the Lancer Evolution.
That's it. Yeah. Mitsubishi. You obviously got the Shogun or the Pajero, depending on your orientation.
Yeah, but they don't sell them. They don't sell all of these in the UK anymore. Like, I'm looking at the Mitsubishi website as we speak, right? And Mitsubishi currently only sell the Shogun,
which is
actually not bad. Yeah,
which is an okay car, and the Fev. Not the Fev. What's it called? They call it the Fev.
Electric vehicle.
I think it's the Outlander.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, I actually knew a guy who was going to buy one. They look okay as well. They're all right.
What was that other one? The pickup one they did was L200.
Yeah, I mean, can you classify that as a car though?
Or is it a commercial vehicle in your mind?
Well, I wasn't really thinking of pickup. I mean, you can include it, yeah. But I was just saying, I mean, I wasn't talking necessarily about new Mitsubishis here either, but I just think the Galant in my mind is just quite a forgettable car. It's just...
Yeah. So I'm going to...
But yeah, I mean, I suppose that's...
I'm going to throw out something that's weirdly along the same lines as all of this. So we've had a few Nissans, had a few Mitsubishis now as well, gone through their list. What's going to complete that trifecta of cars?
Suzuki?
Renault.
Oh, interesting.
Renault?
The Renault Laguna.
Oh,
that is a good one, actually.
Game, set, match to Mr. Hargreaves.
They are very boring, forgettable cars. My dad's owned one. And he bought it for 150 quid, and it ran, and it ran, and it ran. But it's still a very... He actually sold it because he knew if he didn't sell it, he forced himself to sell it. Because he knew if he didn't sell it then, he wouldn't get rid of it because it just wouldn't break. It was so cheap, he couldn't, you can't do wrong on a 150 quid car.
No. It's so forgettable, I've forgotten what it was already.
Exactly, yeah. And I was looking these up. I
genuinely forgotten.
Renault Laguna.
That's it.
I was looking these up, and there is no redeeming feature about them. They all came with very average engines. Well, I say this is the thing. This is what I was going about. They're not bad cars by any stretch of the imagination. The engines weren't, notoriously terrible and broke all the time, but none of them were particularly exciting.
The estate
the design of the cars wasn't, it wasn't terrible. Everything worked as it should. The design of it was fine, but it also wasn't particularly amazing. It was just kind of there.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mike.
Hang on a minute. Isn't the Renault Laguna the same as that Nissan Primera thing you just mentioned?
I think it may be. This is
no,
because Nissan and Renault are like one company, aren't they?
Yeah. Sort of.
It can't be.
They look very similar.
I mean,
I'm going to have to do
it
something really sacrilegious and Wikipedia the Renault Laguna.
That's going to be a really interesting read for you.
It's going to be so much fun. They're built in South Africa. Suddenly, these are interesting.
They're not
No.
though, are they?
Not even remotely.
I was going to say, I think, and Robbie might be able to verify this for me since you're on Wikipedia, but I think the Renault Laguna was the first car ever to be awarded with a 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating.
It was, yeah.
That's the only thing I can think that's even remotely interesting about it. They did do one with a V6,
they did a
I
coupe,
think, but it wasn't sporty.
24,
so they did
a 3.5 litre 24 valve V6.
Did they?
Madness.
And what power was that putting out there?
238 brake horsepower.
Oh,
that's not a lot of horsepower from a 3.5.
I was going to say, yeah.
Well, considering the 3 litre got 235, you have all the inconvenience of an extra half a litre of displacement for 3 horsepower.
Look, it's all about.
That's my point exactly.
It was 1 second. It was 1/10 of a second slower to 60.
Oh, crikey!
They saw those guys coming, didn't they?
So hang on, they did a 3 litre, but they also did a 3.5 litre, which
was slower.
Was made.
Do you want to know what's even better? Slower. The 3 litre V6 was a diesel, and it was faster than the 3.5 litre petrol.
Really?
Suddenly, this has become quite interesting.
Yeah, but
no, it's still not interesting. It's interestingly bad, maybe, but I mean, I wouldn't even go there. Do you know what? Funny you should mention that. So, on the subject of like stuff that just doesn't make sense, right? So, who remembers the Alfa Romeo 156?
I do.
Not the one I had, but the smaller one, right?
Yeah.
So, you know how people buy estate cars, right, for more space, right? Alfa, I think, are the only car maker in history that the Estate 156 had a smaller boot than the saloon on which it was based.
How?
Don't ask.
Because they had to move stuff. Because what they worked out was probably that if you put stuff in the back, it would upset the weight distribution. So they had to make it smaller so you couldn't put too much stuff in the back.
That sounds very Italian and probably was true.
Unless you filled your boot with lead. And then it would just upset all the Italian engineers.
Yes. No, you're right. Do you know what, chaps? I'm really impressed with this topic actually, because I think we've come up all with very good candidates.
It doesn't say a lot about us, is it, that we can remember really boring cars?
Well, I mean, we're car enthusiasts at the end of the day. We know what's good. I have to say, if I had to pick one, which I think stood for good, I've got to give it to Mike. I think the Laguna.
He's hit the nail on the head there.
Probably tops it all.
And it is based. The really Nissan Altima is the same thing, not the Primera, but the Altima. So you guys jointly have won that, I think.
Well, fair play. I mean, 1-0 to us. Maybe we need to do more features, like not necessarily this particular topic, but other things like that, and see who comes up with the most suitable car for that criteria.
Mike and Sash do. What colour is more? This is interesting to watch paint drying on.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey. No.
But I've got to say, the Renault Laguna, if you pick them up cheap, because you can pick them up unbelievably cheap. Like,
yes, nobody wants.
Normally you're talking 12 months MOT, £500. No, these are 12 months MOT, £200. Like, they're just
nobody wants. And if I remember, I've actually sat in a Renault Laguna once, and I remember the seats were quite comfy.
Yeah, this is the thing. The car is actually like not a bad car.
French cars are notoriously comfortable.
They are very comfortable, and I agree with you, Mike. I don't think they're bad cars. I think maybe a bit flimsy in places, but all French cars are.
Well, the price range that it was in was of that sort of thing. It just is. It's just a car. It's like the most. Yeah. It's just a car that's ever been made.
Well, I think what we can do. This kind of leads very neatly, I think, to the next topic. But I'll only introduce it this time, and I think we can elaborate it on the other podcasts that we'll do in the future. But boring cars are boring, or cars that are just forgettable are forgettable because they have no particular redeeming features, right? Now, in my mind, there's only one way to rectify this, right? And that is modification, right? So, hear me out. So,
Are you
there's
contemplating
a
a
lot of
Renault
people
Laguna with a body kit?
No,
Because
no, no,
that
no,
I
no,
will
no.
pay to
But
see.
Should we make a track day
I'm
car
just
out of a Renault Laguna?
That
A
would be
3.5
hilarious.
litre V6.
Drop a two
we should,
JZ, a 1JZ in there.
No, I'm keeping
we
that
should,
original engine. That is going to be a powerhouse.
we should maybe do that. That might get a lot of attention actually. But the thing is,
It won't get any
maybe
attention.
for the wrong
People will look at
reasons.
it and then immediately forget they've ever seen it.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of people in the world modifying cars is a big industry, right, across the globe now. And I think obviously people just don't want to have necessarily a car that is standard and that any other Joe blogs can just go out and buy, say, a BMW 3 Series, for example, and go, well, why should he have the same car that I have? So I'm going to do some modifications and make mine better in their minds, right? So I'll sort of leave it on this. Do we agree? Well, what's everyone's thoughts on mods on cars?
Yes.
I don't. If you do them well, I don't see that there's an issue.
I think even if you do them badly, there's no issue. I think it's fine.
What do you mean there's no issue?
I love bad mods. Like, I love them. People who've just cable tied things to their car. People who've made a spoiler out of like whatever they can find in their shed. I love it. Like, I think it's great.
I mean, it's a way. I suppose it's a way of self-expression.
Exactly, yeah.
Isn't it?
Just because you can't afford to mod your car and put, all this crazy expensive carbon fiber and all the rest of it on, doesn't matter. Buy yourself a Renault Laguna.
There are
some pieces of wood to the back. Happy days.
Just stick a wing on the back and just, it'd be fine.
I just disagree with that. I think people like that should be taken out and shot.
You're a purist, Rob? Are you, Rob? Is that it?
Well, there's certain levels of things you can modify, and I think once you start replacing panels with carbon fiber panels for a car that is only used on the road, you are a bit of a mug.
Why? And it might not just be used on the road; it might be tracked.
Yeah, but cars that are designed for the track don't work on the road in the same way that cars that are designed to work on the road rarely work on the track. Or, you're never going to be setting blistering lap times in a road car.
No, but it's about having fun, though, isn't it? It's not about setting the next world record. Like, it's...
Why would you want to turn up like somebody who is a half-witted farmhand who's glued a bit of plywood to his car? Why would you go around advertising to the world that you've been lobotomized?
No, I mean, look, let's not get too. Well, I mean, I could tell obviously you're quite passionate about this, Rob, about anti-mods. And do you know what? I don't really. I agree with some of both of your points, really. I do think that what makes me laugh is that car makers spend billions of pounds on R&D and research and stuff like that to make their cars, fit for purpose of which they were intended for, right? I just think it's funny sometimes watching whoever trying to think that they can do better than, say, BMW or Audi or whatever.
I feel like you're pointing this directly at me there, Sash, are you?
No. But I'll get back to it. The thing is, though...
It is OEM plus BMW.
The thing is, I have to say, I've never been big into mods, right? So I'm a fan of OEM standard cars. I like originality in a car, right?
Fiat Cinquecento. That's standard, isn't it? No, it has a yellow door.
Modded. Body kit.
That's not mod. That's not.
And it has a sump guard.
Yeah, but I've taken that off now.
Yeah, but it had a sump guard. I know it had a sump guard because I made the sump guard.
Yes, and it wasn't particularly a well-designed sump guard, so that kind of proves the modification thing that I was just trying to
about
make.
Everything I've just said about you looking like a half-witted farmhand, and I thought about the welding job I did on that sump guard.
Yeah.
And what I should have done is worn a straw hat and dungarees while I did it.
Yes, the point is, I don't think I'm all about OEM personally, but I appreciate that there is this car culture around car mods or whatever. But in my opinion, people who make car mods to, go faster, unless you're spending a lot of money, you won't actually go that much faster. Classic case in point, who remembers that Top Gear episode years and years and years ago now, where they bought, on the subject of Renault, a Renault Aventime. Right, I don't know if Rob, if you remember this one, or we might have watched it, and they tried to see if they could beat a Mitsubishi Evo standard around the track for the same amount of money. No, not the same amount of money, but like, I don't know, half the price or 2/3 or whatever, because a lot of people think, I can just modify my car and just go from there. I can beat a Ferrari Enzo around the track. And you just can't unless
money, no object.
you go to town on it. Yeah.
So
the
what
point where money's no
there
object,
is,
you've just built a different car.
Yeah, exactly. But it's possible. You could have made that Renault Aventime do that, but it wouldn't be a Renault Aventime anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, what you're saying then in that case is if you want a car faster than another car, just buy a faster car in the first place.
Well, the mods aren't just about going fast, though. It's about looking cool while you're doing it, you know? Why go fast when you can look fast?
I mean,
as every 17-year-old boy has ever thought when they bought themselves their first Saxo or Clio. Mike,
your pro mods, Rob. You sound like you're pretty anti mods. Have any of you ever done any modifications to your car? When I talk in mods, I'm talking the serious stuff.
Well, not serious stuff, no. But I have modded. I'm going right into the cliches here. I have modified the first car that I had when I was 17. In as much as, we did all the interior, like put new sound system in it, had like all that kind of stuff. Had actually, I tell you what, I remember my sister's first car was a purple Nissan Micra, and she covered the entire interior with purple fur.
Wow.
Which I say is one of the best mods going.
That is the most Cornwall modification ever.
I kind of wish I had carpet in my BMW. Real furry
shag pile.
Thick, shag pile carpet on the bottom, underneath the pedals. That would be amazing.
Shag,
and that's that kind of mod. It's just funny. I don't. It's not. You're never going to go faster.
Have you seen those cars where they put grass on the outside?
Yes,
I exactly.
It's Astroturf,
that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, chaps, I have to say, it sounds like we've got quite a varied opinions on mods, and I thought I'd just bring it up just as a little bit of an introduction. We can maybe talk about it more from another podcast, but I think that sort of brings our topics for today to a close. Thank you very much for partaking again, as always, chaps, and thank you to, I don't know how many listeners we have now, but two or three of you that are still with us or not with us. We hope.
If we can get more listeners than hosts, I think that's when we can put ourselves winners.
So we need to aim for 4+.
And this is how we don't get invited back, Mike, because Sash is like, if we only got one listener, it's only me, then we have an equal number.
And then if me and you listen, Rob, Sash is, he's quid in. So double up.
So Sash is now thinking, which one do I have to sack?
Yes.
We're unpaid.
I was going to say, I'm not paying any of you, so yeah.
So actually being sacked is a great thing because it means we get some of our free time back.
Don't pretend that you don't enjoy it.
Don't pretend like you use your free time, Rob.
Yeah.
Don't pretend like you have a social life now. You started doing this podcast.
Yes, exactly. It's dedicated to the cause. Although, in serious interest, I have had a fair few people that I know that are enjoying these podcasts. So thank you to the 2 or 3 of you that are listening for tuning in. So that concludes.
Shoot for the stars. Thank you for the 4 people who are listening.
Yeah. If you can send us a message and spice up the show we can read out your messages.
Oh,
maybe you've got some suggestions about things we could talk about.
Yes, that would be really good. I'll tell you what. I'll put that on my page for the podcast and my channel, and also on my personal page. Chaps, if you wouldn't mind you don't have to post if you don't want to, but if you ask anybody for some ideas, I will certainly do the same as well. And that can make it interesting. And maybe we can get people to write in about about particular topics or stories or anything like that. And that might be quite interesting. So yes, thank you once again, and stay well and stay safe, and see you for the next one. Well, bye from all of us.